Welcome to the Your Limitless Leadership Podcast with Jenny and Brent Widman. Here, we believe leadership isn't just about titles. It's about how you show up in every aspect of life. Whether you're leading a business, building a legacy as an entrepreneur, guiding your family, or striving to lead yourself first, this podcast is for you. Join us as we dive into real conversations about growth, decision-making, and the courage it takes to lead with purpose. Get ready to be inspired, challenged, and equipped to become the limitless leader you are meant to be. This is Your Limitless Leadership Podcast. Let's lead without limits. Welcome to Your Limitless Leadership Podcast. Here we are again, and you'll notice something different today because I'm on location in our bedroom, which is kind of funny. Our basement flooded, my fault, a couple months back. I turned the irrigation system on in the basement, and the outside faucet spigot was on for about 3 hours, and it flooded our basement. So we have people working on our basement today. So here we are. But, we just keep doing it, is what we do. And today I have my very, as always, special, beautiful, fantastic, smart guest, Mrs. Jennifer Marie Widman, who is joining us again. Thank you for being on here, ma'am.
Yeah.
Just love doing it with you.
I'm excited for our topic today. We're going to learn so much from you.
Today we are learn from me. Yeah, learn the struggles is what we're going to learn. Today we're going to talk about what it means or how hard it really can be to go from let's call it a really good top salesperson to a leader, because that's where most leaders come from. And I want to generalize here, but more often than not, I would say your top salespeople a lot of times get into leadership, and we think we're just going to figure it out. And I'm going to turn it over to Jenny here in a second. But many times we don't just figure it out. It doesn't work that way. There's the trial and error and the ups and downs. And I went through a lot of that over the course of the beginning of my career and even into a large part of my career. So that is our topic for today, because I know a lot of you, especially leaders, you are in this, and that's why we're doing this. And then we're also, just so you know, we're putting a program together as well, a one-to-many group coaching program together to help people that are in that range, to help them, because I wish I would have had that help. And I'm sure Jenny does too when we were early on in our career or mid-level our career too at the same time. So,
well, Brent, give everybody just Cliff Note version, not your whole backstory, but just when you were a top salesperson into leadership. Give us your path. How did you get there?
So really, I started my sales career at Lifetime Fitness, and I did well because I made a lot of phone calls. Like, that was the thing that kind of set me apart, I guess, from everybody else. And I did really well. I was here in Minnesota, and there was 27 clubs at the time just in Minnesota. And I was always top 5, top 10. And you're talking hundreds of salespeople. And it's because I worked. I worked a lot, really, is what it came down to. Or that's what I attested it to. So, of course, that's where it started. I thought I should be in charge. I even tried to be a sales manager at Lifetime. And I remember one of my favorite people, Steve Larson, I actually had him on a podcast earlier this year, sat me down and told me I wasn't ready. Well, I'm 31 at the time, 32. I'm thinking I sure am ready. Don't tell me I'm not ready, right? So I ended up leaving. I went to the YMCA as a sales director. And to answer your question, that's where I started. I was only at Lifetime for a year and a half. So really, I was only in sales or management. At that moment, I'd managed a bar and that kind of thing in college, but that's where my career started, really is where it was. So I can elaborate on that if you want me to, but I'm guessing you have questions about it. So,
well, yeah. I guess I'm wondering, like, what were you doing that felt like leadership, but looking back, it wasn't?
I was top salesperson. Like, that's it. People would come and talk to me like, what are you doing? What's making you successful? And honestly, Jenny, it really was just, I remember one of the days I walked in, one of my sales managers, Jason Mitzel, sat a stack of guest registers, because people, when they walked into Lifetime, had to sign these registers that had their name and phone number on it. It was a waiver that says if they got hurt, right? He sat them on my desk and he said, call all these people. And I was like, okay. I didn't know anything else. So that's what I did. And I started seeing success from it. Well, then people would ask me, what are you doing? Well, I just made a lot of phone calls. I talked to a lot of people. And if there's one thing that stuck with me over the years, the one thing I think that I thought should make me a sales leader was, well, because I can do it, they should be able to do it. Not knowing that's the actual thing when I got to the why that held me back, really is what it was. So, yeah,
And
that
what
was
was
probably
that moment that you realized like the team needed a different version of you than that, than just being a top salesperson? When was that moment? When was that like
oh, man.
realization, oh, this isn't working? Like I'm selling them that they just need to go work and they're not. So what was that realization?
I know kind of the exact time it happened. We, every end of the month, so at Lifetime Fitness, the guy that took over at the Y was a past Lifetime person. And he adopted at the end of every month, the last 4 days, didn't matter if it fell on a weekend, didn't matter when it fell, we had what's called a closeout. So we would work from 8 in the morning till 9 at night. That was 4 days in a row, closeout. You were there the whole time. And it was the end of the month at the Y. I don't remember which month it was, but my executive director was sitting in her office and it got to be 5 o'clock on the last day. And we knew we weren't going to hit our goal. And me and the two girls that I had hired, I'll come back to that, went and told her that we're leaving, we're done for the day. And she goes, it's not 8 o'clock yet. It's not 9 o'clock yet. And in that moment, like that's kind of when it hit me that I was supposed to be the leader that would stay. I was the person that was supposed to be there, do the thing, show them how to do it, be that person. And I was the person leading them out the door when the goal wasn't hit. And it wasn't maybe 2 weeks, a month at best later, because you got to go through the process. The Y is kind of corporate. I mean, it's huge. It's not corporate, but it's kind of corporate. That you've heard me tell this story that my executive director, my leader, my guy, not the one that sits in the Y, but my guy that I reported to, sat me down and he told me, Brent, sometimes the best sales leaders or the best salespeople don't always make the best leaders. And you've heard me tell this story, but I was mad. I was really mad. And he gave me two options. He says, you can step back. Well, he gave me one option, really, is what it was. He goes, you can step back from leadership and you can start being a salesperson at the St. Paul YMCA. Now, if you know anything about the cities, I was living in Plymouth, and you're talking a 45-minute drive every day.
Yeah.
And I went home that weekend, and this was hard for me, but I didn't really have anybody at the time. I was a single dad. I was alone, right? Like I was alone. And I made the choice to quit. I sent him an email that Sunday night and said, it basically just said, I can't take the job in St. Paul because it'll take me away from my son too much. And I won't do that. I won't let that happen. And it wasn't his fault. It was my fault. And Jenny, this carried with me for years through the next jobs. I started job hopping. I was always in leadership, but we talk about imposter syndrome. And I didn't know what that was back then, but I knew, or I felt, not know, I felt that as soon as somebody figured me out, that I was going to get demoted again. Like that stuck with me. And even when we went to the past company you and I met at, Southwestern, when I became a leader, because we became leaders through production there, we became team leaders. I told my leader, I don't want to be a leader. I don't want to do it. Because what he said to me that day, I'm telling you, this is 8 years later, 9 years later, that this still stuck with me. And I can go on and on about all the stuff I didn't know or didn't realize or know now that I didn't know then. And I'll talk about that. But that's how much it hit me, that it stuck with me for 8 years, that I'm not good enough to be a sales leader. I'm not good enough to be a leader. Put it that way.
I was just going to ask, like, what were some of the things you were telling yourself in those 8 years? And,
I can give you, I mean, at the why, right, when I left, I thought I had it figured out. My ego was so big that I thought I was the guy. And then I went to Sprint. I went to a recruiter and they got me a job at Sprint as a district manager. And I ended up questioning authority. And straight up front, I got fired because I questioned authority and I questioned their numbers because again, my ego got so big that I thought I had it figured out. But I wasn't taking the time to, in these 7 stores I had, here's one of the things that did dawn on me though. Everybody in those stores was probably 18 to about 24 years old, and I was 32, 33. So I was older than them. So I was like a mentor to them. And you know me, I'm very patient and very understanding. So I would listen to their stories about the things they're going through because a lot of them were troubled kids, basically, is what it was that were looking for jobs. So it was like you're down on the luck, didn't have a lot of money type of kids is really what they were. I called them kids because they're 18 to 24. And I would listen to their stories and how much they got just beat up over time, not physically, but just mentally. And it took a toll on me. And I started believing, is this all there is? Is this me? Because if I'm living paycheck to paycheck, or I can't make ends meet, or I'm struggling, they see that. Who am I to tell them what to do or help them with what to do? But I didn't know the aspect of accountability, and like I'd never heard the word accountability or goals, or the only goals I ever had were the goals that's why I questioned the numbers at one time, because the only goals I ever had in my life were, this is your goal for the month, go hit it, that somebody else gave me. So there's no emotional attachment. I didn't even know what that was. Like everything that I know now, I had no clue back then. And that's why I look at other people and the thing that we do, I feel like what we do for a living, Jenny, and I know I'm rambling a little bit here. It's a gift because I'm giving the gift back to somebody else that I know was never taught these things.
Mm.
You can go in and do a workshop or a training, and you know this. I'll ask how many of you have your goals, and maybe 10% of the room. So if you got 50 people in there, maybe 4 or 5 actually have their goals written down that we can see them. So something that simple. But it was all of that. It was strategic leadership. It was emotional intelligence and self-awareness and one-on-ones and hiring, delegating. Like the girls I hired at the Y, I said I'd go back to that. Process of elimination. 3 people applied, I hired 2 of them. That is all it was. And that's who I had. They didn't make phone calls. They didn't talk to people. They did tours. They waited for people to walk in and they showed them around. And then they asked them if they wanted to sign up for a membership at the end of it. But if they didn't close them on the spot, that was that. So what did I do? I tried to be the hero. I went back to it, trying to make phone calls, trying to sell all these people because I knew what I was good at. So my default button was, let me save it. Let me make the phone calls. And some months we'd hit it and some months we wouldn't, because every time somebody came in, I would hand them to them so they'd make their commission off it. They didn't make a lot, but they made enough to, they'd make $8 more a sale or whatever the heck it is. It wasn't a lot, but it kept them motivated. So over here, I'm doing all the work and they're getting all the accolades for it, which is fine. But it looked really poor on my leadership. And my leader saw right through that, is all it was. So I don't know.
It's funny because we hear in coaching a lot about the traps that we fall in. And yours, the number one that you just spoke about, is like the superhero trap, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm going to jump in. I'm going to save this. I'm going to make another phone call. I'm not going to teach them what to do. I'm going to do it for them. So you're enabling them and not duplicating your efforts to make them better. And that's the trap most new leaders fall in, because it goes to, like you said, their default. So you talked about 8 years there, and then at Southwestern, even I knew you as being a really great salesperson, and then going into leadership, it was a struggle for you. It was all that stuff that you were telling yourself. But what did it cost you? Like before we get into how you changed, what did it cost you beforehand? Whether it's like your own energy, your relationships, your team before you made the shift. What would you say in those 8 years, 10 years?
Ooh, that question almost made me cry right there because I think about what it cost me in life. Before I learned leadership, I didn't have you. And what do I mean by that? Okay. I didn't I didn't have the confidence. I knew I could do one thing. I could outwork everybody in the room. That's the one thing I had. So at the past company, like we talked about, I could do a lot of workshops, travel around the country and sell a lot of people into coaching. That's what I could do and build up a lot of revenue. But I could never figure out how to duplicate that in other people. Because the reason it was in me is, to answer your question, is because I that's the only thing I had. I thought that was the disconnect. I hope you're understanding me here. Like, that's what it cost me. It cost me money. That's an easy one. Hundreds of thousands of dollars, probably. It cost me the person that I am, the confidence, the structure, the discipline, the consistency. It cost me constant sleepless nights. It cost me anxiety. It cost me stress. If you're listening to this and you're thinking, that's me, you're not alone. Let's call it what it is. You've got the drive, you've got the experience, like you have it. You have it. You know what you're doing. But something still feels off at times, or things could be better. We know that they can be. You know there's more. What we do is we help committed leaders go from guessing and grinding to really leading with clarity and structure and confidence. We're offering complimentary DNA strategy calls. We're going to evaluate how you're leading, where performance might be breaking down. It happens. And what really needs to tighten up within your business, within your leadership, within those people around you. Then we're going to take this next step. And what we're going to do is build accountability, the skills, and the systems to create that consistent or those consistent results around it. If you're open to digging in a little bit, the link is below in the show notes. Just book your DNAcall.com and we will find time for you and we will dig in with you. All right, let's get back to it. I remember being that single dad laying in Jack's bed with him where he was like 4 or 5 years old after we read a book, and I'm just staring at the ceiling because I can't sleep. And then I'm up at 3 or 4 in the morning because I can't sleep because I'm thinking about how do I provide. So it cost me that. And I didn't know any of that through the YMCA, through Sprint, through even Robert Half, which is like a global company that I was a division director at. I was the when you see the definition of imposter, like that was me because I didn't know any of this stuff. All I knew to do was work. So there's a pattern here that at every position I had, the actual leader that was above me would look at me and go, why aren't the people on his team doing the things they need to do? Why aren't they excelling? Why aren't they getting better? And then when I met, well, not when I met you, but at the company we met at, everybody I hired, I expected them to be Brent Widman.
Mm.
Instead of meeting them where they're at and what their goals are and what they wanted to achieve, and it would drive me batty. Like, why don't they just do it? And in leadership, that's not how it works. Not everybody's wired like Brent or Jenny, or we're all different. And it wasn't until I started reading and leadership meetings and letting people in and trainings and all these different things that it just started seeping in, right? Like the development started happening. But I literally for years thought to myself, I don't even know what leadership is. Like, what does that even mean? I don't know. And I thought, and it's hard to say this, but I thought I was doomed to a life of mediocrity because I could work really hard, but that's all I would ever have. And it's really, I'll tell you, man, working hard's one thing, but the mental stress and capacity it takes to know that if you're not doing it, you're not going to eat. It consumes you, and it consumed me. And that's how I lived. That's what I thought the answer was. So, yeah, if that answers your question, it's kind of everything.
No, that's powerful because I know there's people out there that either have been in that position or are in that position right now, and they're just looking at themselves like, what is the answer? What can I do? How can I change this? And I guess that's, you know, you talked about awareness a little bit there, but I'd really like to know, was there like one moment that you're like, I need to change, or I cannot lead like this anymore? Or what was that that made you pick up that book or finish a book? I think you said that you didn't finish a book ever until Take the Stairs or something. Like, what was that moment that you were like, I cannot, definition of insanity, keep doing the same thing and expect different results?
The only book, I'll touch on that for a second, the last book I had read before I read Take the Stairs by Rory is Of Mice and Men when I was a sophomore in high school was the last book because we had to do a book report on it. And then I realized I could just look at the back of the book and kind of get the Cliff's notes and do book reports after that. So that's the last one that I read, honestly. When did it actually dawn on me? That's a hard question, man, because it's there's the couple instances that one of them was Due Tinin, and she believed in me. Her and Shane, they hands down believed in me. So it wasn't through like modules or all this stuff. It was through her training and development of me and the things she asked of me. You need to read this book. You need to watch this video. You need to send me these numbers. You know the story. I tried to cancel our one-on-one because I hadn't done the thing I was supposed to do, and it was at 4 o'clock on a Monday, and I canceled it at about 3:45. And she's like, "No, no, you do not do that to me ever. You don't do that to anybody." But that's leadership because that's not letting people off the hook. It was Shane constantly, where's your pipeline at? What do you have out there? What can I help you with? What do you need? It was when I tried to back out and not come to Southwestern and said, no, I'm not letting you not come here. You are too talented and you have too much potential for me to just let you wallow in your own crap because you're scared to make something out of yourself. Those are the times it's sitting in that. You know this story too, when I wasn't going to go to Global Summit, the first one ever, the coaches camp, and she goes, I guess it's just not important to you then. Like it's knowing your people good enough that you love them enough that you can call them out on the things that you know they need to do when they don't see it in themselves. All those instances, and I could give you 100 more that she did. All those instances were things that grew me and my it grew my confidence. It's when I got done with my first workshop and I thought I knocked it out of the ballpark. Like I practiced this thing. Let me tell you, I practiced this thing day and night for weeks. And I got home from that first workshop and I started calling, I was with Keller Williams and I started calling all these other people from Keller Williams. And I would thank this guy if he was sitting right in front of me. I called Perry Hirth and he goes, oh, I heard about you. I heard you're just okay.
Woo!
Yeah. Think about that. Like you talk about practice. I was up at 4 or 5 in the morning just practicing this for hours on end. And to have somebody say, I heard you're just okay, it was defeating.
Hmm.
And I called Due and I'm crying. And she goes, oh, I've heard that. That's not that big a deal. Just keep practicing. like it wasn't even a thing.
Mhm.
That's leadership. Those are the things that you get from a real leader that I didn't know. And every instance I just told you, everything, all of that, I have used with other people before. I have taken that transformation and transferred it to somebody else. And I hope, because you never really know, but I hope it has touched their life the same way it touched mine or helped me in my life.
Mhm.
And I, again, we have our own I wouldn't be sitting here, well, standing here right now. I wouldn't have you. I wouldn't have the house. I wouldn't have the life I have. I wouldn't have my parents, your parents, my brother. I mean, I'd have them, but I'd still be calling my brother whining about not being able to pay my bills, you know? And that's where I was at. And that's what this taught me is when you let people in, when you check the ego, and all I mean by ego is like we hold these things really close to our chest. We don't want to look stupid or we don't want to be an imposter. And I thought if people came in that it would make me look weak. I wasn't the person. I thought leadership was look at me and look at who I am and look at what I do, like bravado type thing of I am the greatest thing ever. You can't tell me anything because I have it all figured out. And realizing that was the farthest from the truth.
Mhm.
And again, I use do as an example, but you've taught me that. Ron's taught me that. Dust. I mean, I could name names forever of the people that once you let people in, you start looking for it and searching out leadership.
I
Yeah.
I think, one of the main points that I wanna make sure people grasp from everything that you just said, because it's so important, is that you truly do need someone to believe in yourself more than you believe in yourself to get where you are. And Dew did that for you and made you feel safe to be able to go to her and
Mhm.
cry and go to her and tell her what you're going through and go to her and tell you what a manager said to you while you were at a workshop or a training or whatever the case is. I mean, every top salesperson has had negativity. Every top salesperson has had someone say to them, you're just okay. Or I mean, I've had someone say I sound like nails on a chalkboard. I've
Yeah.
had someone tell me, um, Jenny's not allowed into my office. I don't like her. Every single one of us has had negativity. And it's those leaders that we feel like we can go to share the experience, to be vulnerable, how it hit us, for them to just be like, yeah, I've got that too. Yeah, that's normal. And for you to just like, oh, okay, I can get through this. It's going to make me stronger. But every single time that I think of top leaders, it's they believe in their people more than the people can believe in themselves. And that's super, super crucial and important. So if you're listening to this and you're a new leader, it's you ask yourself, like, do I believe in every single person underneath me? And if I don't, should they be on my team? Or do I need to get to know them more to believe in them? Because I think that's half the battle. It's like some people just recruit numbers instead of the quality, instead of the true belief. But the rep sees that. They see that. And so it's to change that narrative, change that outlook.
You just hit something there too I want to touch on. It's spending the time with people.
Mm,
Dew might have looked at me or AJ or whoever might have looked at me. Rory said this to me once. He goes, I thought you were just the guy that lifted a lot of weights and worked out a lot, but didn't do anything else the rest of the day. This was on my
oh
first
my
incentive.
gosh.
You know how we got together on the incentive trip?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what he kind of laughed about it. But that was the perception of Brent. And it wasn't until I realized that what she taught me is believing in somebody isn't just telling them. It's the phone calls, it's the text messages, it's the Marco Polos, it's the voice text, it's letting them be safe, like you just said. I remember leaving my fifth or sixth workshop in a row that I zeroed. And if you're pretty new to the business and you're broke, if you're new to anything, like that's defeating. And I called her again. Maybe I'm kind of a baby here. I was crying again. And she's like,
I didn't know you
give me
cried this much.
I think it was the pressure that I had on myself to
Yeah.
provide for my son. Like, I had so much pressure and to put so much time and effort into this and not get anything out of it, like, that's heavy, man. And she goes, "Give yourself 5 minutes and get over your shit." But she knew how to lead me because she spent the time to be with me, to
Mhm.
understand the way I thought. Now, if she would have said that to somebody else who's more of a delicate flower than me, it probably wouldn't have worked the same way. So it's things like that. That's what you get by spending time with people. I am a true believer. I think it was I read this in a book once, that true believer that you can make anybody a salesperson if they're willing to put the time and effort into it. And I do believe that because it goes back to what can you control? You can control activity. If they're willing to do the activity, you're going to get better. You're going to get better. And that's what I was taught as well, being new to leadership. If you're willing to put the time and effort in to develop and to put the activity in, to read and do all those things, you're going to get better. Like our group coaching. If you're willing to get on that and do the calls and be in it and ask us for help and do the accountability and all the things, you're going to get better at leadership, hands down. And that's part of what was taught to me as well, that even though you might be raw and unfiltered and what have you, that is who you are. Use that. Use that to help other people. And I think that was a big thing that was taught to me as well, Jen. I really do. So,
Yeah. And I mean, I think what makes you being a top sales leader isn't necessarily you want to use all the skills. Like it's what has made you so great are those things, the hard work, the great attitude, the controllables, the schedule. Now it's just about expanding it, right?
yeah.
And how to not only have this skill set, but make you great in this skill set. And those same things that made you great over here with selling are the things that will make you great with leading. It's just a completely different avenue. It's a completely different skill set. And you got to learn how to connect with others and have those hard conversations and give accountability and just all the things that make just how a 5-year-old shows love is time, right? And so you just need to spend the time with these people to really help them know that you truly care.
Well, I liken it to, and maybe this is a funny analogy, but think about like it's summer construction, right? Road construction. When they dig up that road, do they just slap tar on it again? They don't. When they dig up the road, they dig it down and they put the gravel on, and then they add the base, and then they add the bars, and then they add the cement, and then they add another base, and then they add the tar on top of that. So you have the foundation, and you continue to build upon that until it's the finished project. But even with the finished project, that road's never perfect, i.e., we're never perfect. So we're going to get off track a little bit, potholes, whatever. Like things are going to happen over time that you have to continuously fill that in, all those gaps that you have or those things that you might struggle with to help you get to where you want to go. It's never done. I mean, you know this, every morning like clockwork, I go for a walk. The reason I go for a walk, it's about a 30 to 45-minute walk. I'm listening to a book. That's all I'm doing. I'm just in it because it's my time for peace and my time for quiet. But those are my potholes that I'm trying to fill in. I'm trying to find something in that stuff. Now there's other things that we do, but that was taught to me. I didn't just know that. You don't just know things. And if you don't let people in, if you don't seek it out, you're not just going to know things. And I go back to your question, when I realized that I just don't know, like what Hud says when he would say, I know everything.
Mm.
And now he says, I know almost everything. right? He's changed the thing because we called him out on it. I thought I knew everything. And I don't even know close, right? We don't. That's what helps
Mm-hmm.
right there. So it's what do you look for? You're going to find, I guess, put it that way. So,
yeah. Any last words? Any last comments about salesperson to sales leader?
I wish that I could take, I don't know how to describe this, Jenny. I wish I could take what I once was and the way I once was once, because I know there are thousands of people out there in that same place that are in a leadership role. You have the title. And I wish I could give you all the things like I just, we can give you through our coaching, group coaching, what have you. But I wish I could transfer that to you in the moment. So you didn't have to go through the same pain, go through the same struggle. But I think that's part of it, is you almost have to go through that to get to here. But I also know, if you're listening to this, I wish every middle or top salesperson or middle management or even top leader would listen to this and go, there are things that I need to work on. And sit down and go, okay, where are my gaps? Or take the 3 or 4 people around you and go, where are my gaps? And ask them, and let them tell you. Don't scare them. Don't like be their boss, what have you. Let them be honest with you. And then do it. Because once you start doing it, you're going to do more of it. That's what I came to find out. Once I started doing it, I wanted to do more of it because it made me a better person, made me a better leader for our team, our company, friends, family, events you go to. I mean, you name it, man. It's everywhere you go. And it sounds, I don't want this to sound bad, but it feels like everywhere I go, people are asking me for advice or questions, or how did you do this? How did you do that? How does that work? Because they see the amount of time and effort you've put into it and how you can help people. So yeah, I'll leave you with that, I guess. Hopefully that helps, but you can do the same. Yeah.
Well, we can't do this thing called life alone, right? There's you're not alone. We've been through that. There's people currently going through that, and that's why we decided, Brent and I, that we're building something specifically for sales leader navigating this transition, because it's out there and it's a thing, and we've seen it time and time again with over 15 years of coaching, that it's a gap. And there are, the good thing is there are things that you can learn to do to make you better, and get out of the trap of just that top salesperson mentality. So the mentality helps. It's just transferring the different types of skill sets.
Spot on. Best way to find us, DNAcall.com, as in your DNA, DNAcall.com, and set up time with Jenny or I, because this is a discovery call to figure out where you're at, what makes you tick. And our job is just to ask you questions to see where you're at. And for some, it's going to be a fit and some it's not, and that's okay. But at least there's other things that you can look for then, because you'll know the gaps, like Jenny just talked about, that we all have, every single one of us. So thank you. Thank you for being on here. I appreciate it. Thanks for joining us on the Your Limitless Leadership Podcast with Jenny and Brent Widman. We hope today's conversation inspired you to think differently about leadership, not just in your career, but in every part of your life. Remember, leadership starts with leading yourself first. It's about taking action, making bold decisions, and showing up with purpose. Now, it's time to take what you've heard today and put it into practice. Whether it's in your business, your community, your family, or your own personal growth, start leading without limits. You have the power to become the leader you're meant to be. Until next time, Keep pushing your boundaries and leading with purpose.